We're seeing the emergence of a default form of failed capitalism, which I call authoritarian kleptocracy, thieving.
There's a good argument to say we need a rebirth of a common cause, of a mission d'etat, as they say, the mission of the state, right, or the mission of the community.
Having discussions out in public is really important, and not just thinking to yourself, well, where is the public at? And those are really important questions, of course. Where's the public at? So what can we push for? Those are sometimes important questions. But I think that we must also ask the questions, where do we want the public to go? And how far can we push? Like, let's take that principled, radical, bold stance on this particular issue right now and mobilize. I think that that is just such an important piece of the puzzle.
I think this is a moment where you have to respond to what the voters want. You put yourself in the voters' eyes and minds and hearts and say, what are they looking for from us? And I think from my perspective, we need to educate them and mobilize them. Educate and mobilize them. And you'll find over the next 6 months, if all goes according to plan, the ACLU will get involved in a number of races. But it feels like it's the right fight at the right time, and it's always darkest before the dawn.
In the event that a progressive party is not at the, in power, we can shift the conversation and force, even, with the help of a progressive party that might be an opposition party, we can force the people in power to move.
And I think, very often, in addition to coming together around an issue, people will come together around a leader or leaders.
For folks who were around in the 2014 election, when I ran, I faced a really vicious and targeted hate campaign based on who I was and the work that I'd done on human rights and social justice issues, for anything to threaten my capability to, run with some sort of equity or fairness in the election, but also something that made me think twice about the things that I loved about being a community activist and also being hopefully an elected representative at that time.
That if the left doesn't acknowledge white privilege, who's going to? The right? Like, we are the ones that are going to acknowledge white privilege, and we have to go beyond just acknowledging it. And I'm cognizant, and I'm this, and I'm that. Well, how does that white privilege manifest itself? Well, it actually manifests itself even in the nomination processes.
Representation matters. It matters who is in our legislatures. It matters who are the people on camera when journalists go and ask for comment. It fundamentally matters to the policy work that happens and to how communities can be represented.
I think there needs to be a broader understanding from people on the ground that we have the power to shift conversations, which then has the power to shift what power does.
We must support organizing groups and giving people voice all the time, especially those who don't have their voice heard as often, and that's the best way to get true change and vision for our province.
One of the first things that we can practice, and practice this consistently, is that when a marginalized person, someone who's marginalized within marginalized demographics, when they have something to say, our first instinct has to be not to silence them. It has to be to give that person a megaphone.
And so I do think it's possible to talk about progress that we've made in politics, in social movements, with activism, while still recognizing that we have further to go.
And I think we win when we put forward ideas.
I want us, as a family of left, to be the best that we can be.